So there are three types: unstructured, structured and semi-structured. So first we'll see about unstructured questionnaire. It is otherwise called as open-ended questionnaire. So this questionnaire will be comprising of the open-ended questions, and that's why here the unstructured being called in other way as open-ended. So what do you mean by the open-ended questions? So here, in case of your open-ended questions, the respondents are given the freedom to express their own ideas and feelings. And here we are not going to give any sort of restrictions or confinement. We are not going to give the boundary for their answers. We are not going to limit their responses. And we are not going to give them any one of the response from already predetermined one. And here, as a result of it, we are able to obtain more information. And also, in this case of open-ended questions, we are going to get the true responses, the insightful and sometimes even the unexpected response. And mainly, we are going to get a qualitative data, not a numerical one. And of course, one of the disadvantages in such open-ended questionnaires, it is very difficult to do the statistical analysis. And mainly, these open-ended questions are given to collect the feedback or to get the suggestions. So here in an ideal questionnaire, we will be having the open-ended questions also to get the feedback as well as suggestions. So how an open-ended questions will be? Because I have just given you what are the characteristics of an open-ended question, but we'll see how an open-ended question will be looking alike. Now, what is the need of additive manufacturing? So if I'm going to ask this question, I am not going to limit your responses to 1 or 3 or 4 or 5 options. That is your own freedom. So you can say why it is needed. So you will be expressing your own ideas, expressing your sometimes your suggestions also. And here, how blockchain technology will change this world. So no predetermined set of responses. So in this digital world, everyone are moving towards this blockchain technology. All companies and many of the companies have started to change their information in such technologies. So here, what impact will be doing it and how it is going to change the entire world. So if I'm going to put this question to you, then you will be coming out of the answers out of what you feel personally. So here there is no bias at all. Whatever you feel, you are just going to say that. And how can we promote e-learning in rural based institutions? And here you will be coming with a lot of your ideas. So what are the ways you can do it? So you will come out with lots and lots of points. So this is an example for an open-ended question. It's actually wide open. I am not going to confine. So here the respondents are having the freedom. So they can express their ideas in their own way. Not in the way which I expect, but in their own way. So what are the impacts of COVID-19 on farming sectors? How the farming sectors have been affected by this COVID-19? So what are the changes it has made in the farming sectors? Is there any significant changes made, or whether it has made any worst change or worst impact? So we are not knowing all those things, but simply I am just putting a question. What do you feel? What are the impacts? So whether it is significant or insignificant, you are going to tell out of you which. Maybe out of your own experience or what you have learned from it or out of your knowledge. So you can give your own responses. So these are some of the examples for open-ended questions. But generally, open-ended questions, or maybe also for other way also it can be there. It is not only answering to the questions like this, but there is another way of also administering this open-ended questions. So in this video also, I like to just share about this TAT, that is a thematic perception test. So here they are widely using this open-ended questions. So here also they are preparing a questionnaire with full of pictures, And here also they are administering a questionnaire. So they are administering some open-ended questions and they elicit response from the respondents. So this test, it has been designed by Murray and Morgan in the year 1930, and they are actually psychologists, and Morgan is an artist and psychoanalyst. So it is a good combinations where they have just prepared this test, and mainly this test is actually a projective test, and it will be revealing the individual perception. So here it also deals with the perception, what we perceive, what you understand, what you comprehend. Suppose if you are going to give me an object, I perceive in a way, but the way I perceive will not be the same as the another person perceives. So what he understands, what he feels about it, what he thinks of it, how he just imbibes into it. So these are something related to called perception. So I can say in this thematic apperception test, you have a questionnaire with a sequence of pictures and related questions. Suppose when you are going to administer a questionnaire like this way, maybe it is needed for your research. Maybe if you are going to collect the responses from the respondents of such kind, and that time also you must be able to know how you are going to use these open-ended questions. So here, this is an example. So some sequence of pictures. I have given you some 3 pictures. Okay. So whether they are related or not related, it is not sure, because it is ambiguous. Just giving you a picture and making you to answer to a question. It is like making you to narrate a story by giving some pictures. Okay, I am just asking a question like that. So what happens? So here the perception is differing. So I may be seeing a lady lying in a bed and having a man standing beside, and again I am having a man who is going to about to bless another one, and another picture where they are going to do some test with the laboratory like this. So maybe I can just also say that people in a village, they are affected by some disease. So this person goes and tries to cure, but they are not able to cure it. Then he decides to find a medicine for it. So I may interpret in this way, I may perceive in this way. And maybe this may be the situation and what are the outcomes. So I can ask certain questions like that. Maybe another person may interpret in a different way. Maybe they can relate as a first picture like a husband and wife. And maybe another picture, maybe who may not know they are related to that. So the way how you perceive is different. So here the responses what we are getting from each respondent is different. It is not the same. So that's why it is very difficult to analyze, because it is not easy for us to go with the coding. Each one will be giving their own responses. So it will not fall under a same category. So in open-ended question, doing the statistical analysis, it is very difficult. So you cannot have a questionnaire fully filled with an open-ended questions, because it is very difficult to go with the analysis. But then you can have a questionnaire with some open-ended questions where it is providing the space for the respondents to register their own feelings, their opinion, their suggestions, their ideas. So that will give them a satisfaction that they have contributed something towards that questionnaire. And another kind of administering this open-ended questions, it is not only asking a questions, okay, but you can have like a word associate questions. So what you will do is, you will be given some words, and immediately what word strikes you, you have to give it. Suppose if I say mother, what is the word that strikes you immediately when you heard the word mother? And if I am going to say college, what is the immediate word that strikes your mind? So because for a student, college is actually a fun. So for a professor, college is actually a work. So for the parents, college is actually a big task, or they may feel that they have to pay the fees, and they want to go with a career, they want to go with a job opportunity. So for each and every parent, something strikes a mind. For some parents, they'll be worried about the fees they want to pay it. Some parents worried about the college, and what about the job opportunity. So these things are going. For a student, college is actually a fun, sometimes exams. So their responses also they're going to get differ. So here we are not going to get a same kind of response. So it is going to be a different kind of response for different kinds of respondents. And the another one is completing the incompleteness. So respondents know, see they complete the things, sentences or stories which are left in halfway. So you are giving them the freedom of expression. So I am just giving an example. The learning management systems will. So because we are coming across so many LMS now, okay, and what they will do with. So will they help in that e-learning process, or they will be supporting the faculty, will assist the students, we might not know whatever can be the completion of it. So it also depends upon to what kind of respondents you are giving that questionnaire. So this is completing the incompleteness. So open-ended questions, it is not only just giving the complete answer for a questions out of your own freedom, but also it gives you a chance to express your perception, to give a life to your perceptions, like what we had with the TAT, that is the thematic appreciation test. So when we going to administer the thematic apperception test there, we also come across the same thing. So some pictures were given and what do you feel about it, answering to the questions. So even in today's psychological test also, we are administering such kinds of tests where it is involving the open-ended questions. So word associate test also to know, to have their understanding about their vocabulary. So what is about their idea, what do they think of the word. Suppose if I am going to say a teacher, what a student will be giving a response, what a parent will give a response. So at present, how the students are going to give another word, what that strikes their mind to that teacher. Suppose if I am going to say about learning, if I go to say online classes, if I go to say Google, so what are you going to say the another word for it? What strikes their mind? So it shows sometimes how they have just perceived it. All are the reflection of their perception. And also the completing the incomplete, how they are going to feel it, how they are going to give their response. So they may end the sentence in a positive manner, sometimes they may end the sentence in a negative manner, sometimes they end the story in a positive way, the happy ending, some people end the story in a very sorrowful way. It depends on the respondents. We cannot expect all the respondents to respond in a similar fashion, so it differs. So this is all about your unstructured questionnaire. So your unstructured questionnaire will be containing the open-ended questions, okay, and it will be given the freedom for the respondents to express their ideas and opinion. So now we'll move on to the structured questionnaire or the closed-ended questionnaire. So the very word itself is telling you that this questionnaire is going to contain the closed-ended questions. So what do you mean by a closed-ended questions? So I can say whatever we just saw for open-ended, the negation of it, just the opposite of it is going to be the closed-ended questions. So limited freedom to the respondents. Of course, your freedom is not going to have a wide range of boundaries. It is going to get confined. Some restrictions. You want to give the answer out of the few options. You cannot give your response as you wish. Actually, what all the responses the researcher has given you in the question, you have to answer one among it. That's all. So predetermined, yes, there are predetermined set of responses. What all the possibility responses a respondent can give, I can just give. That's a predetermined set. You have to choose what you feel as a response to that question. But here no, you will be obtaining less information because all the informations are given by you in the questionnaire. Whatever you know, you have just given it. So they are going to just and check with that. They are going to give their opinion. Okay, yes, I go ahead with this answer. I feel that this answer is right. Okay, it is up to me. That's all. Only that information, but nothing beyond it you will be getting it. And here you will be getting lot of quantitative data. And of course, one of the advantages in close-ended question is you can go for easier statistical analysis, but as it is dealing with what? It is dealing with the quantitative data. So I think now you will be able to picturize what sort of questions will be coming under the head of closed-ended questions. The very first one is dichotomous questions. So it is a very simple questions. Either you are going to give the answer as yes or no. But what is one of the disadvantages in such question is there is no opportunity or no space to deal with a middle perspective. Suppose you cannot say that 50% or 50%, either yes or no, it is there or it is not there. We cannot say it is partially existing. Partial it is not existing, you cannot go for it. So it is always deals with the discrete one, yes or no. So if I'm going to ask, do you like chocolate? Do you like the products of XYZ company? You immediately say the answer is either yes or no. So no further discussion over it. Sometimes you go with the true or false, sometimes you agree or disagree. So have you visited New York? So either you can say yes or no. So COVID-19 has created a new trend in education. Do you agree or disagree? Okay, I agree. Are you working as a teacher in school? You give only any one of the options, yes or no. The country first affected by coronavirus is China. True or false? Of course, you know what is the answer. So it is a true. So this is the way you administer the dichotomous question. And here comes the multiple choice questions. So here all response choices are known. So they are quantitative. So for example, here you will be listing all the possible responses. For example, now you will be very familiar in filling up lots and lots of registration forms like Google Forms will be filling and feedback form will be filling, and definitely will be coming across this one. So what is your designation? All the things will be given. So sometimes people will be giving like a student or faculty or professional. Sometimes when you feel that this program is exclusively meant for only the teaching community, then you go with these options: lecturer or assistant professor, associate professor, or are you professor. Only these categories the teachers fall into it who are working in a college. So the possible responses are there, it is given to you and you have to choose one among it to which category you are belonging to. Now examples, so I can say, so time spent for exercise in a day. So you can give, so maximum will be spending 1 hour but not more than an hour. Okay. So what is the nature of your job? So whether are you a government employee or is a non-government, it is a private, or doing a business, or you are an entrepreneur. So many possible responses you can give. So frequency of visiting hotel. So in a week I am going to ask you what is the frequency of visiting in a hotel. If you are going to say that, you say often, sometimes, rarely, no, you never go for a hotel, you don't like to eat outside. It depends. So what are the types of movies you like? So you will now present maximum what are the possible types of movies are there. For example, whether you like a comedy movie or a horror movies or thrillers or action movies, so a family entertaining. So it all depends on you. So you are giving the possible responses and from where you want your respondents to choose. So now other comes here about the Likert type questions. So Likert type questions, these are something regarding like your strength of the responses. So whether you agree or disagree, okay, but it is quantifying the strength of it. To what extent you agree or to what extent you disagree. That is very important. Now I am just telling you an example. The teachers have to get used to online tools. Suppose if this is a thing, I am asking you whether you strongly agree, you agree, or you neither agree or not disagree. So you disagree or you strongly disagree. So if this is going to be the options which I am giving you, so whether if you are agreeing, you will tell, yes, I strongly agree it. So here it is to ascertain how strongly your respondents agree to a particular statement or how strongly they disagree to a particular statement. So it is going to give the intensity of their likingness or dislikingness towards a particular aspect. So whether they think that the teachers have to get to be used or not to be used. So it purely depends, So it is, I can say that it quantifies the intensity of being agreeing or being disagreeing. And now I can say, so express your views on the following aspects of some smart factories I am going to say. So smart factories are going to be the future. Whether you are strongly agreeing or you neither agree nor disagree, you always stand for the neutrality. And the large scale companies are moving towards the planning phases of smart industries. Smart factories will replace human. Suppose if these are the questions which I am going to ask you regarding the smart factories, then the choice is yours in giving the opinion in accordance to it. And we'll move on to the bipolar type questions. See, in this case of bipolar type questions, no, they will be given two extreme answers, okay, and the respondents will be just making their marks between these two extreme responses. So now I can go for an example. The webinar was effective. So what are the two extreme responses? Excellent or bad. If I'm going to have these two are the extreme responses, then the respondent will be just marking their response between these two extremes. So this is a good example. Express your feedback on the training program. So whether interesting or boring. So interesting, very much, somewhat interesting. So I will have the neither, and whatever happens to the left side corresponds that interesting. Whatever comes after neither, no, somewhat, very much, it is all up to the boring. So it corresponds to that boring extreme word. So very much interesting, somewhat interesting. So it is neither interesting nor boring. You cannot tell that. So you are neutral again. So somewhat it is boring, very much it is boring. And again the effective to ineffective, useful to useless, satisfied to dissatisfied. So they are the extreme words. But how far it is there? So this is you called as a bipolar question. And another thing is called a matrix questions. So matrix question is multiple questions in one grid. So I think this is also quite familiar. Now you see, instead of asking about the organization of the program, about expertise, about interaction separately in a webinar, you can just put together all these questions in a single grid, and you can just have your responses also like this. So very much satisfied, somewhat satisfied, neutral, somewhat dissatisfied, very much dissatisfied. So look at here. Now, you will be able to give the responses for all these three questions in a single question itself. So these questions are put together. You call this as a matrix question, and it will be easy for you, to just give the tick over it. Nowadays we don't tick, we start clicking over it, Immediately we just go for a click, whichever is up to us, which is where we feel it is out of my experience, and automatically we go for it. So this is the way of matrix. And contingency, this is very much important. I can say that these are like dependent questions, and it is going to give you the directions from one question to another. So this is quite very much will be coming across such contingency questions. Now an example will be discussing, are you in teaching profession? Yes or no? Suppose if I am going to give the answer as yes, so only I can go for the another question. If yes, where are you working? Suppose I am not in a teaching profession, I need not go for the second question. So contingency questions, they are dependent. So where are you working? That is, the second question is dependent on the first question. Only if your answer is yes, you can opt for the second question. If your answer is no, then you need not go for the second question. So it is dependent. And sometimes I can say it is giving some directions. So if your answer is yes, then move on to the another one. So dependent, as well as we are given directions to the other questions. Now, do you exercise daily? If my answer is yes, I go for the next one. So whether you exercise less than 1 hour or exactly 1 hour or more than 1 hour you are exercising daily, I am just giving you an option like that. So if you are exercising daily and if your answer is yes, you move on to the other question. If you are not exercising and if you are going to register your response as no, then you need not go for the second question at all. So this is about the contingency questions. So we will be coming across this contingency question many a times. So maybe the other questions also will be following. So if yes, where are you working? I can go for another one. How many years are you working? So are you working in a government institution? So what type of institution are you working? So it comes whether you are working in a government or government aided or it is a private. So it all depends. So you just see from one question you have answered yes, then automatically it is leading to another questions. It is giving directions to move to the one question one after the another. So next one is the rank order questions. So what is this rank order is? So all the alternatives will be given to you and you are supposed to rank it. So there are two types of rank order questions. One is the paired comparison and another one you can call that as the forced preference rank order. Okay, you are going to rank something, but you have two kinds like paired and forced. So what is that paired comparison? So you are choosing a brand product, what is more important to you? Quality or price? So it is a paired comparison. Either you want to opt quality or either you want to go for the price. Any one of the two you are going to give your ranking. And another one I can say, suppose nowadays we are very much got accustomed in going our courses like online courses, we go for Swayam, NPTEL or all those things. Some people will be highly worried about the number of weeks they are going to do it. Many of the people they like to go for 4 weeks course. Sometimes they go for 6 weeks, but only very few go and opt for the 12-week course. And some people will be more worried about the course content. If the course content is very good, even for 12 weeks, they don't worry at all. They are ready to do it. So whether in opting an online course, whether you go for the duration or the content. If that is going to be my question, so it depends. Either you always select a course based on the duration, you give preference to the weeks because we have so much of works and we cannot be sitting and sparing all of our time in attending the courses for all the 6 weeks or for all the 12 weeks. If it is a 4 weeks, then it will be very easy for us to go ahead with that. Some people are like that. Some people are very cautious of their content. They don't worry about how many weeks a particular course goes, but they are highly worried about the content. So these are the questions like paired comparison. Then forced preference rank order. So you will be looking at the list of the following items. So some list, you can say that based on the useful to least useful, which you feel is more important. Now you can say that to make the online teaching more effective, what are the aspects are important? You rank them from you can give the most to the least. So which you prefer most, the strategy to the least strategy. So I am going to some 5 to 6 strategies are there. What are you going to rank? Or I can say which of the following application used more often for online classes. So you give some list of options are there. Then you start ranking. So nowadays we use Zoom, webinar, and we have GoToWebinar, we have Examiner apps for all online platforms are there. So whether you go with a synchronous or asynchronous, whatever it might be, so you might have exposed to many kinds of it. So which do you prefer or which do you feel it is good, which do you feel it is compatible? If that is going to be your question, then automatically you give all the possible and you make the respondents to give the ranking. You prefer them to do it. So this is actually called the ranking kind of questions. So now we'll move on to a comparison between the open-ended and closed-ended. So designing, it is difficult because we cannot just ask questions which could be able to answer by everybody. Because some are good at answering, but some may not be that much good in giving their opinion or thoughts into words. So it is a little difficult, but closed-ended questions, it is very easy to design. So are you we'll go with the gender, we'll go with the name, or we'll go with the age group, we'll go with the occupations. It is very simple for us because it is quite commonly we are using it. So response rate is low because I have given you many examples like what are the impacts. So some people may be giving their response, some people may not give their responses. And will technology replace teachers? If that's the question, So what do you think about that? So some people will say yes or no, that's all. But they may not able to substantiate why they are saying yes and why they are telling no. But in closed no, if I'm going to give an answer, like yes or to no questions, immediately they give the responses. So the response rate is very high. So explore embarrassing area. So what I feel like telling embarrassing areas, something regarding to some personal, some private, some sensitive issues and something related about some, as I mentioned earlier, videos like the sexual harassment. So what is a women's problem is there? So what are women health problems are there? So maybe the practical problems what they are facing at times of pregnancy. Suppose many times are there. So if I'm going to ask something about any other related health problems, especially for women, then automatically not all respondents will be feeling comfortable with that. Some respondents will not be feel comfortable in answering some questions. At that time, you can even use closed-ended questions better than like open-ended questions. So how do you feel? How do you do? So it is very much very difficult for them also to get a response. But if it is a closed-ended, even the embarrassing area also can be covered into it. So analysis in open-ended is very tedious because it is dealing with a qualitative. It is very difficult to code because we will be getting lots and lots of distinct responses, okay, because we won't get a similar fashion of response at all. We will be getting a very different kinds of responses. It will be very difficult for us to do the analysis part. But coming to the close-ended questions, it is very, very simple because it is dealing with the quantitative data. So we have seen about the two kinds of questionnaire. One is the structured and another one is actually the unstructured one, that is the closed-ended and open-ended. So we will be seeing about the other kinds of classifications as follows in the next video.